Buenos días, otra vez estamos de regreso con las actividades de la extensión del Canvas. En esta ocasión tenemos la suerte y el honor de poder contar con un conversatorio, plática Q&A con un maestro del cine contemporáneo como es Heinz Emigholz, de quien estamos presentando uno de sus más recientes trabajos, ya que este año estrenó dos, uno por cuestiones de logística, ya no pudo llegar a Black Canvas, pero estamos muy contentos de poder presentar The Last City, que forma parte de la competencia Encounters en Berlín hace unos meses, donde fue su primer mundial. Heinz, thanks so much for your time, for your patience, for your understanding, and for giving us the chance to talk with you and discuss a little bit about The Last City. We're really happy to be able to show it to the Mexican audiences.
Will you translate after each question into Spanish?
No. We're going to stay in English. Yeah, exactly. So it's easier for this kind of dynamics. We would love to do it, but it will be too complicated.
Okay.
But thank you, Heinz. Again, I'm curious about if you can tell us a little bit about this process. This film is, in a way, a change or a drift in direction of the way you have been working in the last years. I wouldn't say this is a narrative, more usual kind of narrative, because I believe that your architecture films are narrative too. They're not explicitly narrative, but there's a different way of approaching them. You have a script in this one, and I think when I read that it's a project that you have in your mind for ages and ages, so or at least some years. So if you can tell us a little bit about how The Last City was conceived.
Yes, I could. I started to think about it in the beginning of this millennium, and I had the idea of 5 cities to connect them with a story, but I didn't know how. At a certain point, I had a producer, Karim Debak from Morocco, who wanted to produce it, but we didn't get the funding, so we couldn't do it. Then I forgot about it. And after I finished the Streetscapes dialogue, which is for me a very important turning point in my way of filming, I think I discovered during the preparation and doing of that film, making of that film, how to tell stories in a different way. And I really needed to get into this new way of telling stories because I was never satisfied with the general rules of narrative movies, which is always the same story of boy meets girls and the same camera setups and the same cutting procedures. And I was heavily dissatisfied with that kind of vocabulary at place. So working out something new in terms of camera work and editing was really the basis for me to tell now a totally different kind of group of stories. And then after I finished Streetscapes dialogue, I sat down and that now I'm free with this kind of new approach to camera work. And so now I'm free to develop all the stories I really feel necessary to be told. So I started with the 5 topics I was most interested in that days. I wrote it in the beginning of 2018. And then we started filming in autumn. I was lucky. We got the money, the funding. I could start to work on it, filming from autumn or maybe winter 2018 till May 2019. Yes, that's it.
The 5 topics that you mentioned will be art, landscape.
No, it was really, I would say, in the core social taboos, what's going on with families, what's going on with the relationship between the young and the old, what's going on, weapon design, war, psychoanalysis, cosmology, and war guilt. And that was the range of it. You see, the film is not everybody who saw it knows that it's not somatic. It's not.
Yeah.
So, and this for me is a very, very, is a statement, because I don't like these simple, simplifications, charitable simplifier, it's called, I think, that film is not allowed to be complex and up to our way of thinking. I'm really working hard to find a way to represent a kind of thinking and not following a formula of script writing or something, you know. And this was a very hard and a long way to come to this point. You know, I started doing feature films in the 70s. I had 4 feature films made before 1990. Then I was totally broke because I produced the last of them in 35 and 5 countries, 64 days of shooting, and I had so many debts that I couldn't go on filmmaking like that. So I started a series of documentary film that later became this long series of architecture films. Yes.
Okay, and you mentioned the script, and I'm really curious about this because the semantic or the language that you explore in the film is really particular, and I found hard for my brain to conceive how we can be structured some things in the letter. I guess that the script, it's really based on the words that they express, on the general ideas of missing the, but it changed, if not completely, you get another dimension or a new level when you explore the other two important aspects that are, of course, they are always important in cinema, but in your films, the presence, it's quite obvious that it's the framing and the editing process. So
yes, and a certain kind of acting, which is not really acting, but more or less performance of sentences and content, you know, which I think is, I don't want actors to perform their breakdowns, starting to weep and this kind of stuff. I'm not interested in that kind of representation. It's a more reduced kind of deadpan acting. And of course there are types, of course there are characters, but they don't have names, they have professions, and they have something to tell. And this is the most important thing for me. There's something to tell, actually. And what I do, and we do a lot of, before filming, we do a lot of rehearsals, readings of the scenes with the actors, so that we are, when we go to the set, and the actors don't know which sets I will choose, basically they are almost all in reality, like in the cities, but there are 2 big sets built by my art director and friend of mine, Ulieter. That was the confessional stand in Berlin that was built for the film, and then the theater, and then the dwelling of the cosmologist in Sao Paulo was built on a theater stage in Sao Paulo by Uli. So there are basically 2 built sets, and all the other sets are reality. The actors don't know, they trust my imagery. I do the camera myself. I don't have to discuss it for hours with the cameraman. So we can work very fast. The actors concentrate on the text. I concentrate on the image and how they deliver it. And then it's a wonderful way of working, yes.
no, I think it's really
you said you couldn't conceive how this was written. Actually, I did a lot of research of the topics. Research in terms of speaking to people who knew about these topics too, who were interested in these topics too. And then I wrote something, but the turning point was when I got the idea to make a roundabout, you know, coming back to the scene we have seen. And that makes the film very fast and in a way you don't know where we go next. And this is very important for me in a film. Even in a sequence, I never repeat a shot so that you do not know where the camera will be in the next shot. And this is very important. This is a kind of suspense, hidden suspense, because, you know, in, let's say, Hitchcock, like over the shoulder, 1, 2, 3, and always back and forth, which is, of course, has its merits, but I don't like it in my films, because I think the camera is a protagonist another protagonist in this play, and we don't know how the camera reacts to what is said or how somebody listens. And this is very important, that we never cut back. And this is the main rule of my films. We never cut back to a shot that we have seen before, you know. Okay. And I started that in, I started that in Street Sketch Dialogue already too. And in the next film, The Lobby, which comes after this one too, we did that.
Yeah. Now I'm curious about this, that you don't repeat shots, and I'm curious about, because in this case, some of the actors are non-professional actors. Yoni Pereira, it's a filmmaker too.
Yes.
So I don't know how he performs just masterfully, but because I guess that it comes from his cinephile to understand this kind of deadpan Brechtian, in a way, kind of expression. But as well, I'm curious about how you mix this don't want it to repeat. I guess that they should learn by letter by letter, all the dialogues that you create.
Or... You know, it's, in a way, it's easy. Let's say I have half a page of dialogue, and in the script, actually, there's only dialogue. There's not a description of the scene or something, because I really decide on the spot where to film, and that's very important too. That your brain has to be there 100% on the location to decide what to film. And then I film this half page from, let's say, 6 different angles, and in the 6 different camera positions. And the actors repeat from every angle. Not many takes, but then we decide where we go through this scene, from which camera position to the next. Okay. So it's quite easy, but it creates a lot of material. So I can film, I can edit much as fast as an ordinary, so-called ordinary feature film, you know.
How much do you shot? Like, let's say, how much material you have in the shooting?
I would say not more than 1 to 4.
Oh, 1 to 4, okay. And the process of editing, it's longer than the shooting, or?
No, not at all.
At all, it's really practical.
I edit with my camera cooperator, Bill Beckman, and we do the editing together too, because we know what we have. And then I follow my script. We just dropped something. I filmed a little bit more story-wise than what we use. Sometimes when you film, you write a script, you tend to double repeat meanings, and then when you edit, you see, oh no, it has been said before, and then you drop that. And so, and we are very fast in that. I think we edited that film in 3 weeks or 4 weeks.
Okay, you're a mastermind to work such a delicate structure that it's so well ensembled in such a
But when you really prepare it well, it's not so much a problem, you know. And I feel very, very much at home in this kind of procedure. So it might look complicated for me. It's not.
Envy you. And for example, two questions at the same time, because I'm really curious about, of course, the space is another character as well as the camera in your films. When you wrote the script, you have, like, for example, this scene is going to be shot in Athens, this shot is going to be shot in Berlin, or it was like when you arrived to Hong Kong, you said, oh, this is when this shot is going to be.
No. That was, I wrote the script for the cities.
Perfect.
I knew the cities quite well, as far as you can know them when you're a kind of tourist. But I had all the locations in my mind when I wrote the script.
Okay. Just the angle is the one that is deciding the spot, or the composition of the image.
The angle or the weather or whatever happens there. There can happen things you don't know, and you have to react to that. And sometimes it's very nice when you keep it open to the last moment. What exactly is the frame, I don't want to write it down. Oh, there's a no-seum here. I don't want to write it down in a script. Now the sun is shining. Well, and then you wait 3 days for the sun, I take it when it rains, and I have to react to that,
Exactly. And for example, I guess that you had to react in this occasion. You did it previously in the streetscape and in the narrative.
And I did it always in the architecture films. So I did most of the architecture films I did was Till Bergman too. So we are a very experienced team, and the sound people too of my team, and the art director. So we are really fast, I must say. So
you know your job, but I'm curious about how having a person in the frame could have changed the relationship that you have with the landscape or with the position of the camera. It makes an influence that you have now this strong presence of characters that you already have in the streetscape, for example, that it's like it's part in a way of this trilogy, if you wanted to name it that way, or it's like a continuation.
Oh, it's a general problem. How do I film people or even heads together with a surrounding, a landscape, an architecture, because usually these entities are much larger than the human face or the human body. So you have to, in the composition, I compose two-dimensional planes. So for me, that's my work, to transfer the three-dimensional into the two-dimensional. So when I compose a frame, I shove pieces of surfaces, I compose them together. And of course, then the actor might be a piece of architecture. The architecture comes a foreground. I don't believe in foreground or background. I like images that are very highly, a very resolved image, so that you can see everything in the image and then compose with it. You'll see in this film, for example, there's hardly, well, there 2 or 3 times there is a kind of out of focus situation in the foreground. But I don't like that, actually. I like an image that's totally saturated with content, and this is pleasure to do.
Can I ask how much time do you take to structure these shots? Approximately, if you
Maybe
like when you're in set.
2 minutes.
Wow, that's fast.
Because I'm ready when I do one shot, I know already what I want to do next. One, and with the new cameras, there's something going on here on my, I can't see it. No, it's gone. And I know already where I will go next, and experience makes you know where to go next, where to pursue. I can look at this space here and know exactly how it would look when I go there and film it from there. You know, this is experience. That's why I'm fortunate not to have to work with a cinematographer, you know, because I would lose. I couldn't do, when I do 3 films now in a year, I could only half of it. Because I have to work all the time.
And I guess that for editing, it's practically the same. You know exactly what you want next.
Well, sometimes we discuss it.
Okay.
Till, who was present at the filming too, knows he's a hard critic. When I say, oh, I like this shot, it's so beautiful, and I tell, well, let's get rid of it. Because we film more positions than we use, you know. And sometimes we just drop them, although they're beautiful, but the kind of acting or how it goes together doesn't fit, you know.
Of course. Yeah, it's a sacrifice you have to do. And
it's nice, like in literature, it's always good when you cut down something. I like, for example, I like film directors who say when they do a director's cut, oh, then I have the possibility to make it shorter.
Okay, and for example, you have 2 stages, that it's the confessionary and the Sao Paulo cosmology room, in a way, the room of Herr Elder. It's a different relationship with the space, because in this case they are staging, not like a real landscape, like from real life. The relationship with it is different for you?
You know, but Uli built these places so that I could go, for example, the theater I could go everywhere with my camera. So I could go to all, that's important. And for example, the confessional stand, the red one, we could put it apart for different camera angles. You know, it's not a stable thing. So I could go with my camera everywhere. I was not confined to a certain. I didn't have to make compromises with my camera. Let's take it like that. Yeah.
What camera do you use?
Oh, that was a red.
Oh, red. Okay.
Yeah.
Small one, I guess.
Well, it's almost like big. Like all these new cameras have basically the same size, and then it depends on the lens that you use and this kind of. Usually, they are all this. It's a kind of package, yeah.
But in this case, in the staging and these places and these scenarios, you can play with the light too. You don't have to play like in the real life. Like, it's just raining, it's raining.
No, then we have to do the light, yeah. And these 2 scenes are heavily and well lit. So this, of course, then takes a longer time, you know.
Do you enjoy it more, or do you prefer the uncertainty of...
I like both. I must say I like both. And now in the scripts I'm writing now, it's always 50-50 built spaces and real spaces.
Okay, good. And but coming back to real spaces, I'm imposing this. It's probably not even there, but I relate your films a lot with psychogeography from the from the C20. I don't know how to say it in English. Guy Debord, the psychogeography, the derive. This concept, when you relate with the space and you have to like flow with it and influence with you, and I'm not sure if it's a concept that you can relate with your films.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, the psychogeography, that it was from Guy Debord. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. The situacionista, it's Spanish.
Yes, situationist, yes.
Yeah.
I think they are kind of bourgeois bunch of people.
They were. No, but I was just...
I have no ideas of imagery, so I'm sorry, but it's over theoretically. And I like something of that, but in terms of cinematography, I learned nothing from them.
Exactly. And I was just putting that because I want to ask you about how did you relate with the spaces? You already said that you know all the cities that you choose for the film: Athens, Berlin, Hong Kong, Sao Paulo, like really well, almost from memory, because you're really good at it, and you have visited them and you know them as far as you said, as a tourist can know them. But I would like to know if you have any kind of a special process when you're in situ to visit the places, to explore them, like sitting on a bench and watching a lot of time, or moving around, walks, something like
You
that.
know, the places themselves don't have to be spectacular. The camera, how you put the camera is the way that makes it when they become a narrative. I mean, there's this one scene in the Streetscape dialogue where the artist said, or the so-called filmmaker says to his analyst, well, you know, I do this film on Le Corbusier now, but I could film a dog shed instead, and it would be a nice film too. And this is somehow true, because you can make a good movie out of a dog shed, because I'm not really, only when I really need a very special set, like in The Cosmologist, I wanted to have a rundown, a bum place, so to say, or a very modern confessional stand, then I have to build it. But usually I can transform every kind of set in every kind of location into something. I'm not afraid of that. I don't believe in these so-called viewpoints that are especially important. It's the way that your body reacts to the location that makes it interesting, you know?
Exactly. And in this way, the camera, no? It's the camera reacting to the spaces. Well,
Yes,
as a medium.
the fluid system, the camera, you look into the camera looks there. So you find a way to screw yourself into the sequence with the camera. And that is the most important part of the new storytelling for me, you know, that the camera became a protagonist. And, and so I could start filming everywhere. I mean, and that was always my dream. Have a crew, have some people, actors or performers. No idea, do one and start somewhere and go on like that. But now I'm heavily into script writing because I like it too. So.
No, now this kind of film sounds like really complex, even more complex than it was like 1 year ago. Now it's even more complex nowadays.
Yes, yes.
But it's still, I think it's a film that in a way talks about the situation we're doing. Like we're in Zoom right now in two different parts of the world and interconnected, just without the mise en scène, of course, and all the...
It's definitely a kind of geo situation, like this kind of situation we are all in, and it's not nationalistic or something.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about it. That's the truth of it too, you know, all these kind of identitarians or nationalists, like in my country too. It's just a joke of history, you know, but we have to live with it.
I want to, you have mentioned a couple of times that the camera is another character, even the main character in the film, and it is. There's this is gonna be a little bit tricky, and you're gonna send me to hell. But all the characters in the film has roles. They don't have names. They're playing concepts in a way, no
Yes.
identities. What would you say that it's a concept or the role of the camera if you have to put it one on it? That it's not camera, of course.
Yes, it's there to look at situations from all possible sides. and not making a judgment, but you can't identify through this way of using the camera. You cannot identify with one of the protagonists because the persons are shown from this is never a so-called, in Germany they say subjective camera when they mean this is a camera of one of the actors, which I think is real bullshit because the camera can never be the view of an actor or something. This is not the view of any protagonist in the film. It's the view of a complete outsider somehow that makes you think about them too in a kind of non-identical, you don't identify, it puts you a little bit away from what's going on. And I think that's a space that we have to preserve for thinking when we tell stories. Yeah.
Especially,
so I wouldn't give a name to my camera.
Okay, my bad. But no, yeah, I got completely the point, especially because the topics that you talk in the film, they are not precisely light. It's war crime, racism, religion, sex, taboos, cosmology, politics, history. So what do you think? Because I think there's something, of course, there is the camera. It's like you're trying to always explore perception, but it's not yours only, but define, like trying to invite the audience to have different weights of perception. And in this case, you think this works too with the concepts, to the way we relate with them, like explore them from other sizes or just from the distance?
Well, it's of course a way to relate them with their surroundings, and to see where are they actually acting, what's going on there, what do they react to, and how is the space defined between two protagonists. And so this is a very delicate possibility to tell all these, to tell a situation that really takes place from all possible sides. And it's not a kind of judgment, like a kind of theoretical content-wise interpretation what the camera does, but it offers the possibility of getting to know a place and the people in that space much better than through a kind of conventional dialogue camera.
No, of course. It's funny. No, but I really like the concept, because yeah, it's but do you think that it works well to, I'm going wild with the acting system, and to relate yourself better with them as an actors, to know something more about Johnny Perel, for example? Or don't you
What
think
do
that,
you mean by knowing about Johnny
because you said,
Perel?
no, because you just said that it's a way to knowing more about these characters, but you as a director think that it helps you to know
I
more
think
about.
it's more to know about how the character stands in his world or in that location. I would never go further as to the surface. I don't want to explain or show a kind of psychological insight of something or someone. I want to see how surfaces connect, and we as people, like we are here in this dialogue, we are surfaces. You see my surface, I see your surface. I have no idea what's going on in your brain, but I only can react to what you're saying. And this is a kind of real situation. I like it. And so why should I think about what kind of problems you have with your mother? Or
You don't want to know, Heinz. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding.
unless you have this beautiful plant there.
Oh, thank you. No, I get it completely. Yeah. And I would like to talk about the humor in the film, that I think it's a really strange, beautiful, and magnificent ingredient. I enjoy it. I haven't laughed so much in this year. That has been horrifying. But, and if you tell me at January you're gonna laugh a lot in a Heinz Emigholz film, I will say like, oh, okay, sure, hold my beer. And there I went, and here I am, 9 months, now 10 months later, and in the both films we discussed it off screen, the Lobby and the Last City, they're extremely, extremely, extremely funny, but in ways as you cannot imagine. To be honest, it's really, really interesting. And I would like to know how did you work this concept of the humor in the film, like.
it's not a concept, it's just my way of thinking. I mean, the architecture film, I had there was no outlet for that. But when I write scripts, I write these kind of scripts. And so I don't force myself to be funny. That would be awkward and not working. It's just there. And then there, of course, how the scene is built up, it builds up to something. The funny thing is, I mean, you mentioned the Lobby that nobody has seen now, but that's kind of stand-up, you know? For me, it's a stand-up. And here in this film, there are strange situations, funny situations, and then the mood turns abruptly into something else. So you almost have no time to laugh. So I like that kind of thing where you're never sure. I mean, for American public, we almost have to have laugh tracks under these films because they don't know when to laugh, you know. And,
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Okay, that will be beautiful for the next film. No, but I
the
understand.
American edition.
The American cut.
Yeah.
I hope nobody from US is watching us. I really hope it. No, but now that I didn't know that you're right. The humor works as the same as the camera position or the editing. It's really abrupt, and it has these cuts, but they are thematically more than physical. So, okay,
What
that's.
did you laugh most? I don't know where you laugh. You
I
should
think
write it down so I could do a laugh track up for that.
no, I think no. The Perel thing at the second appearance of Perel was really funny, and the harakiri, of course, and even the car, and even the car crash was funny. I know it's not funny at all as a topic, but it's in this moment that you said like, what the fuck, okay? What is happening, and yeah, and actually it's one of the moments that more struck me because I didn't expect the car crash in the film. So
Well, you
it's
will see
just
a lot of car crashes in my next movies.
why.
It's autobiographical because I had a lot of car crashes in my life.
Oh god. Do you think it's a way of autobiography in a way?
Yes.
Okay.
For example, the thing with the big package, yeah, that she carries around in Sao Paulo. And it's a kind of MacGuffin, Hitchcock would say, what she carries the MacGuffin around, but it actually, the package saves her life because it's between her and the steering wheel. I encountered that in one of my car crashes, so it's...
Okay. No, it's kind of if somebody told me like Heinz Emigholz got a film based on conversations that it's this kind of surrealistic in a way as well. It's really, really strange as well that it comes.
know who's my favorite filmmaker? There are three favorite filmmakers of all time. One is Carl Theodor Dreyer, one is Louis Buñuel, and Joseph Sternberg. So,
Okay.
and Buñuel is especially fantastic in his last films that he did in Europe. Then, what he does with time structures and and in narrative movies is so, I don't like the word, but it's avant-garde. And I love that. I really love it. Yeah.
Actually, I wanted to ask that. My pretext was going to be Hitchcock because it has to be mentioned twice in the film. But I think it's I related a lot, especially in the confessionary part. It's when I get aware of it that it was really close to the French late part of Buñuel, like Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie, Phantom of Liberty. So you consider it? You watch them while you were writing or something like that, or they are
No, but
constantly.
I knew them, and they're fantastic subversive film. I think a good narrative has to be subversive, and this is what I like about them. Yes.
Well, then, if something is subversive this year, it's definitely The Last City. No, time has come to say goodbye, Heinz. If you want to say
Yes.
something else to our audience, I really appreciate your time. We have been over an hour here off screen for other reasons. So I really, really want to thank you again for joining us and be able to share this with our
Yeah,
audience.
thank you very much. And maybe next year I can come. And
it's a deal.
I love Mexico City. I would like to come back. Okay.
It's a great moment to ask you. You told me before that I completely lose this data that you have shot already in Mexico when you were doing the airstrip. You want to talk a little bit about it? Or you want to save it for next year?
No, show it next year and I come.
It's a deal then.
Okay, good. Goodbye, people.
Thank you so much, Heinz.
Yeah, bye-bye.